All right, everybody, and welcome to the Mostly Sports Talk Show for your Sunday afternoon, July 27th. All right, we have a lot going on. It's the Mostly Sports Talk Show. We're going to do a lot of sports today, but we have to get to a couple of other things too. Well, look, the middle of the summer, right? When you were a kid, probably in the 70s or 80s, I forgot when it first started, the beach became a place where you were assimilated with fear or you associated with fear because of a movie that came out 50 years ago, and that's Jaws. Can you imagine Jaws came out 50 years ago? And I'm also going to talk about the coinciding of Shark Week as well. Between Shark Week and Jaws, when I was a little kid anyway, you had a second thought about jumping into the water when you went to the beach. I mean, I didn't go to the beach too much when I was a kid. I mean, I did here and there, but you always hear the horror stories about people ruining pools and rivers and lakes and that kind of stuff is a little bit crazy because everybody knows that sharks can't swim in lakes, or can they? They've been known to come up to the Hudson River. I think it's bull sharks. I think because of the way their environment normally is, I think that they can kind of go back and forth, but they can't really stay in fresh water for too long. But what I'm really talking about here is back then when you saw that movie for the first time, the fear of the water really came into your head. Because when you see something in front of you, like on a movie screen, for instance, it was a mechanical shark. You knew it was a movie, you knew it was made up. It was a book that was written by a man named Peter Benchley who lived out in Montauk, out in Long Island. Admittingly, I've never read the book, but people say that the book usually is a little bit more descriptive than anything else. But if you read the book, it really put a different kind of spin on it because you had to use your imagination to kind of figure out what the shark looked like, who the people on the boat were, who was Roy Scheider's character, who was Richard Dreyfuss's character, who was Robert Shaw's character. I mean, you look at Robert Shaw, who was not a relatively unknown. He was in a couple of movies, but when you think of his character and the level of intensity that he brought to that movie, you want to take three completely different personalities, throw them on a boat, and bring them out to the middle of the ocean to try and catch a 25-foot shark that just devours everything. I think that makes for a pretty damn good movie. I mean, listen, I'm 53 years old, and I know all my friends will sit around, and I guarantee somebody's going to quote the movie Jaws. I know my buddy Steve all the time. Hoopa drives the boat, Chief. Hoopa drives the boat. And millions of other great one-liners like that. You're going to need a bigger boat as opposed to I think you're going to need a bigger boat. That movie touches so many different lives because not only did we watch those movies as a kid, we passed it on to our children. Now, it's such a well-made movie. I mean, really, let's be honest. If you're a fan of the movie that came out in 1975, then the ones that came after that were really just kind of like, I don't know, shitty movies about sharks. But I think the big thing about Jaws when you watched it was the whole you didn't see the shark for the entire movie. Not the entire movie, maybe about an hour into the movie. You didn't even see the shark. Maybe you heard it bump the boat, or maybe you saw the fin, or maybe bring those yellow weights on there. But you still had a little bit of an imagination as to what the shark was going to actually look like until Roy Scheider is chumming in the water and trying to get the attention of Jaws, and he thinks he shums a little too much. He looks up, he looks back down. He says, "I think we're going to need a bigger boat." Reason being, that's pretty much the first time you see the shark in the entire movie. So that movie to me sets apart from all the different Jaws movies because then it just became kind of like a novelty or, I remember back in the 70s, even the early 80s, everybody was wearing Jaws shirts. Everybody was scared to go in the water. Everybody would, do the that kind of, music from the movie. But at the end of the day, it's an iconic movie that resonates with people from my age, a little older, and even all the way back down because I showed my children that movie, and I'm sure a lot of you out there are going to show them the movie as well. And if you haven't already, I think it's a good idea because it's 50 years since Jaws has come out. Now, I don't know if anybody's got like a drive-in movie theater by you at all or something where you could go watch this outside, but that's a pretty good experience too. Also, Shark Week was last week, and that turned out to be pretty good. I think the last couple of years, Shark Week was a little hokey, but I think they got back on track with a couple of them. They had, Great White versus Crocodile, who's tougher, who could bite harder. They had, They came back with the Air Jaws. They were looking for Colossus, a whole bunch of brand new shows. But the one thing that I had a problem with is, what are we dancing with sharks for? Whatever. I know it was kind of like a popular go-to item a couple of years ago, but we're not dancing with sharks. I mean, look like they're dancing, but they're actually going to bite our heads off. So Shark Week, the beach, everybody, look. Picture you sitting there watching television, and all of a sudden, a shark just jumps into your living room. What are you going to do? You can try and beat it with a bat. You can try and shoot it. You can try and kill it. It's a shark out of water. It's going to be easy prey. We jump into their houses, their homes every single day. They've been there for hundreds of thousands and people think millions of years. So we're going to swim in the ocean. I happen to love the ocean. The minute I'm in, I never get that feeling because my love of the ocean is so deep. I love the salt water. I love the air. I love the sand. I love every single thing about the beach that I cannot let fear of a shark come over me, because then that would just take away my whole enjoyment of going to the beach. And I just have to realize that, look, we are in their domain, they're in their land. So if they want to come up and take a nip or a bite, I guess it's just bad luck on us. But don't be afraid to go to the beach just because there is sharks in the water. And I'm not going to say there might be sharks in the water, because there is sharks in the water, just a matter of where they are. It seems to be, we're going to start off with the big story, I guess. We're going to go into sports before we go into my rant and raving about other stuff. But something happened yesterday that I was afraid of. I told you last week how I kind of changed my attitude on Aaron Judge. I mean, I kind of thought maybe he was a little soft. I maybe thought that maybe last year dropping that ball in the outfield, your star doesn't do that. I also told you guys I met a beat writer from the New York Yankees to kind of change my perspective on Aaron Judge as a person, and kind of just Aaron Judge as a human being and what he does afterwards and what he does before games, his workout routines, his regimens, and the whole 9 yards. Kind of was, changing my outlook on this guy being a major, major superstar who hasn't won a World Series yet. But yesterday there was some news that, look, I'm not even a Yankee fan, and I feel bad for you guys because he wasn't in the lineup yesterday. Now, I was upset about that because I need the Yankees to beat the Phillies. What the hell are we doing here? But when you hear elbow soreness, you don't want to jump to conclusions. Look, I jumped to a major conclusion the other day when I heard that Justin Fields was carted off the field. And I don't know, as a Jet fan, I pretty much thought that they have to maybe have surgery to have his leg chopped off, because that's what happens to Jet fans. And that's what happens to our dreams every single year. They get squashed. But I'll go into the Jets definitely a little bit later. But elbow soreness worries me about Aaron Judge. He is an animal. I mean, he's 6'8". I don't even know how much he weighs. He hits the ball 500 feet. His eye-hand coordination has just become absolutely amazing. When he first broke into the league, I remember a couple of years ago, he was getting screwed on a lot of those low fastballs. I mean, he's 6'8", and he's the best player in baseball right now on the planet. So I guess he's getting a little bit more respect when it comes to the strike zone. But you look at a lot of those early strikeouts in his career. I mean, I guess you could attest that the umpires, were giving him a little bit of a low strike zone. But listen, the umpires aren't doing the best job they can. In the last couple of years, they're not making their plate good for AI coming in and taking over the balls and strikes. But you got to do something. They're either aging out and they just can't see. Maybe they got to get a young group of umpires. But the umpiring situation in Major League Baseball is absolutely horrendous, as is the refereeing in football and as is the refereeing in basketball. But do you really want to take the human element out of these games? Listen, AI is going to be no fault. AI is going to be on the money, but there's still going to be something to complain about. It's also going to take jobs away from actual human beings. But they got to do something in professional sports, because there is referees, umpires, and all sorts kind of like determining, if they have a bad day or if they think that the player was a jerk, they're going to call, they're going to bring that call the other way. And also it slows the game down when you get the timeout to go over it and stuff. But something has to be done because, back to Aaron Judge for a second. Like I said, he was getting those low calls, but now he's Aaron Judge. He's the best player in baseball. MVP last year and well on his way to an MVP year this year. Until maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. Now, up until a couple of weeks ago, Aaron Judge was batting .385, over 30 home runs, over 80 RBIs. His OPS was through the roof, over 1. His wins above replacement was phenomenal. He was making diving catches. He was just doing everything he possibly can to become a number one player in Major League Baseball. But as you could tell, I mean, obviously the man was playing at a high level and batting almost 400. The slow decline from the batting average. Now, look, you knew that he wasn't going to keep that, 380, 390 batting average up the whole year because very few people can do that. But what you did see was a very slow decline. And I found myself the other day talking to my friend saying, you think something's going on with Aaron Judge? And he said, I don't know. I was like, well, listen, all right, you know what? At the end of the day, he's still batting 355. And then the news of the elbow comes. Now, elbow soreness, okay, one thing. He made a throw the other night that they said might have irritated something. That's another thing. But look, I'm a Jets fan slash Met fan. I'm just, used to bad things coming out of stuff like this and thinking the worst. Yankee fans are used to positivity and winning. So if you're a Yankee fan, it could be positive because right now Aaron Judge is on the 10-day DL. And well, listen, you got to pull yourselves up now. And you got to fill in something. You got to fill in where you got a need. Now, you're the New York Yankees, and your need right now is the best player in professional sport, in professional baseball. That's a big need. Now, the trade deadline's coming up. If he's going to be out for any lengthy amount of time, you're not replacing 350, 30 something home runs and, almost 100 RBIs. You're not replacing something like that at the trade deadline. That's just absolutely crazy. So right now with Aaron Judge, not knowing what's going on with the elbow, hopefully it's not any UCL, which Aaron Boone was adamant about the other day, said, it's just soreness, we'll see what happens. But listen, they don't have to tell us everything either, because what's Aaron Boone going to come out and say? He's like, oh my God, it's like, it's a UCL. I know it. The sky is falling, but Aaron Boone's job is to keep the Yankee fan quiet, keep the Yankee fan calm. So right now he's on the 10-day DL. And they got a big game against the Phillies today, because I can tell you right now, the Mets are keeping pace. You can't take one game from the Phillies. I went on a rant the other day, and maybe I spoke a little too soon about, Mets fans actually out there rooting for the Phillies because of their disdain of the Yankees. I did a little, further of a dive, and, people are like, Rich, what are you, crazy? No one's saying that, but there were people saying it here and there, but I'm going to have to assume that there was some kind of, being a troll or something, because under no way, shape or form am I rooting for the Philadelphia Phillies today to beat the New York Yankees. New York Yankees have to come into today's game and win this baseball game and get themselves back on track to winning some ball games, because without Aaron Judge, it's going to be really, really tough. Now you're looking at a Yankee team who started out good. They knew they weren't going to have Garrett Cole. They got Max Fried. Max Fried is one of the top four for the Cy Young right now. We already talked about Aaron Judge. Stanton is back. Stanton swinging the bat, but you know what Stanton is. Stanton could go on a tear, hit 15 home runs, and go on a DL. Anthony Volpe. Anthony Volpe is not turning into the project slash baseball player that the New York Yankees thought that he was going to be. Now, look, Volpe is a young kid. Look, I coached Little League. I coached baseball up until the age of about 16, 17-year-old kids. These are Major League Baseball players. I understand that, but everybody takes the spotlight different. Everybody takes criticism different. Everybody takes the fact that you're not holding your weight for your team, whether it be the fans. I'm aware that his dad the other day almost got into a fight in the stands with a fan of the other team because he was talking shit about his son. Now, I don't know. This is major leagues. I guess you got to sit there and grin and bear it, but I think they banned the fan for life from the stadium. I think that's kind of ridiculous. But back to Volpe as a person. It's a lot of pressure on this kid, man. He's not a fill-in left fielder or the number 3 left fielder, the number 5 outfielder on the baseball team. He's the starting shortstop of the New York Yankees. Now, I don't know if you guys remember correctly, and I'm sure you do, one of the greatest baseball players ever to put on a pair of cleats was the Yankee shortstop for a very, very long time, and I'm talking about one Derek Jeter. This kid was asked to step into those shoes. Now, you had your IKFs, and you had your, DDs, and you had your players, that tried to come in and fill that role. But nobody was a homegrown baseball talent like Anthony Volpe. This kid was told that he was going to be the Yankee shortstop. Eventually, maybe he might be the captain. He's going to be playing every game. He's going to have to be some kind of leader. It started out okay. Look, he hit a home run the other night. But this kid just doesn't look like he is ready at all for prime time. Now, do you send him down? I don't know. What's your answer at shortstop then? Do you give him a break? He's right now, he's the option for the Yankees at shortstop. And I think that builds more and more on the fact that maybe he's getting more and more nervous, or maybe he's injured, or but the Yankees have to do something. They got Jazz playing third. They got, they're thinking about going out. I think they're out on Suarez. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. I spoke too soon. They got the kid Donovan from Colorado. Look, let's be honest. Colorado's got 27 wins. They didn't do too well last year. Last year, he was probably one of the best players on that team. Again, that's not saying too much. With a 27-win baseball team, he comes over as the starting third base and jumps in right away. So can't really say anything about him. Can he bring a little cohesiveness to that infield? I hope so, because right now, the major, major problem with the New York Yankees, and I'm not even going to say the major problem with the New York Yankees is Aaron Judge, because we don't know that right now. The major problem with the New York Yankees is they're playing baseball like they were coached by Walter Matthau and they had Chico Bale Bonds jerseys on. Now, look, I know everybody's going to, oh, the Bad News Bears. Yeah, everybody could just say they're playing like the Bad News Bears. They have 9 errors in the last 5. Oh, I'm sorry, 11 errors in the last 5 games. And I'm not just talking like, little weird errors. No, these are outright, giving up run errors. Now, when you start giving up runs on your errors, those are not productive plays. You talk about fielders, and I love to watch the great fielders. I mean, I love to watch the Lindors of the world. I used to love watching, the Machado when he was younger. I used to love watching Olerud at first base. I used to love watching all these guys, even Albert Pujols at first base in his prime. You want to go back to the shortstops that like I said, Lindor, Jeter was a good shortstop. These guys, like all these players that really put their defensive performance out there, they're not playing defense. Like my big thing with Francisco Lindor is he gets the ball hit to him a lot. He makes plays that save runs. When you're making errors and you're making errors with men on base, those are just giving runs away. And at this point right now, the Yankees don't need any of that. The Yankees need to do something about maybe adding maybe adding something to the infield. I don't know. Is that going to stop the errors? Not sure about that. Goldschmidt the other day said, oh, maybe we're playing too hard. Maybe we're trying to go for the ball too hard. How about you guys get in there and realize, now I'm saying this as a Mets fan, guys. I'm saying this as a New York Mets fan. I need to tell you this because, again, I go on these tangents all the time, and I'm tired of the bullshit with the Mets and Yankees rivalries. It's not a rivalry. I don't care what's going on in the Bronx unless I'm there playing in a World Series baseball game against you guys. I'd rather play the Reds. I'd rather play the Phillies. I'd rather play the Braves. Hell, I'd rather even play more games with the Giants, Dodgers, and the Padres. Something to meet that means something in the National League. These interleague games, they've just blown up into something that's become just like, you have different, I don't know, even the different uniforms and the different hats for different holidays and the interleague play. And it's just to push a brand more that I think is just being pushed as much as it is. I mean, people love baseball. I know people have to come around and watch baseball a little more. I mean, they change a couple of the rules. The one rule is the pitcher has a certain amount of time before he pitches the ball. I think that's an amazing rule. I think it's perfect and it works out great. But people love baseball. I mean, listen, people don't love baseball as much as me and my friend Brian, because we could sit there and talk baseball all day long. But baseball is what it is. They're trying to make the proper, adjustments to it. But the play on the field with the New York Yankees is paramount. They have to get themselves back to playing baseball and tell themselves that we're the New York Yankees. Now, listen, I heard all this good stuff about Aaron Judge, about being a leader, being a quiet leader, being a silent leader, and going into the dugout and just saying, look, presenting himself a different way, not throwing, chairs, not hitting water coolers like Paul O'Neill used to do, but in a way that a leader, quiet leader, he can't do that right now. He can, but a quiet leader leads on the field with this performance. He may be out for a significant period of time, ladies and gentlemen. That is not going to be good. Now, look, again, I'm a Mets fan. I'm used to not making the playoffs. I can tell you right now, the last 2 years, we have a really, really good baseball team. And I'm expecting a lot from this team this year. But Yankee fans, when I used to listen to sports talk radio, and I would hear these Yankee fans call up and say that it was their birthright to win a World Series. If you think it's your birthright to win a World Series or watch your baseball team in the playoffs every single year, you're not doing it right. There's got to be a little bit of heartache involved. There's got to be a little bit of we can do it involved. 27 World Series, that's great. 2009 was your last one. As a representative of that team right now going into the Hall of Fame today, and that's CC Sabathia. I'll talk about the Hall of Fame in a little while too. Guy deserves to walk in with no problem. The guy was a great pitcher for the Indians. He was a great pitcher for the New York Yankees, and he was a good team guy who's going to the Hall of Fame today as a representative of that 2009 baseball team that won a World Series. That's the last time the Yankees won the World Series, guys. Maybe some playoffs here and there, but 2009, my son Aiden was 5 in 2009, right? 4, 4, 5. Yeah, he was 5 in 2009. A lot of his friends were 5 in 2009. I got a couple of his friends that sit here and listen to my podcast every once in a while. His buddy Steve, one of the biggest Yankee fans of his age group that I know. Do you even know what went on in 2009? You were 5. That's what you guys got. So you could be confident Yankee fans out there, and you could shit on the Mets all you want. I'm just going to keep my mouth shut because you know what? You guys got it. All that little brother bullshit that was going on there for a while, you guys got it. You know why? Because I'm looking right now and I'm looking forward. And I'm looking at the New York Yankees right now from a perspective of baseball and Major League Observer. You got a lot of trouble right now. My old partner there, who I guess maybe what he was really only good for was, talking Yankees with me, all of his other silly stuff. But you know what? He's got his podcast coming out, Burgers, Balls, and whatever he wants to do with it. But listen, at the end of the day, we had good Yankee conversations. Everything else was kind of like, dorky and goofy. But you know what? I'd like to have that argument with him right now. Or I'd like to have that debate with him right now. I'd like to have that debate with a Yankee fan right now. And let me know if you think that the Yankees are playoff ready. Because I don't think so. Unless they do something really major at the trade deadline. Unless they do something really major and go after a big name a big name bat. Because you know what, though? They are not going to replace all those home runs. So let's say Judge is playing. Let's say Judge was right about to come out of his slump right now. 10 games, you're looking at least maybe 5 home runs and maybe 10 RBIs. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And you know what else that's going to do? That's going to do something for a couple of other players. Now, let's just say again, Aaron Judge is out for an extended period of time. Cal Raleigh hit his 40th home run last night. 40 home runs for a catcher. 40 home runs for a good catcher. 40 home runs for a good catcher who's so good that their number 2 catcher is kicking ass down in the minor leagues, and they don't know what the hell to do with him. Cal Raleigh is on pace to do stuff that normally catchers don't do. 40 home runs, catching great, RBIs, and a good team leader. That other kid, listen, you might want to trade that other kid and get something going over there because he's a star. That kid is a star. Julio Rodriguez is a star. The Seattle Mariners are a baseball team that right now, if you want to look at the standings right now, which I got right in front of me, the Seattle Mariners right now have 56 wins and they're in second place behind the Astros. They're going for it. Quietly going for it because they're so far away over there in Seattle. So far away over there in Seattle, like all the other teams are like, who is that? But you know what Seattle Mariners are? They're a team that right now is quietly going for it. Cal Raleigh quietly going for the MVP. Even though if you asked him yesterday when he hit that 40th home run, what his first thought was about hitting that 40th home run, he's probably going to tell you that he's glad that he's able to help his team. That's just it. But look at what that kid's doing and look what might happen. How about Bobby Witt? Bobby Witt's got 60 games left. Bobby Witt's a 5. Listen, I might even make up the term 6-tool baseball player. Bobby Witt, watching that kid play baseball, Aaron Judge hits 30-something home runs. He has all these RBIs. But if you want to look at everything else that goes along being a baseball player, Bobby Witt's your guy. Bobby Witt steals bases. He plays the field. He's a shortstop. He's a team leader. He hits home runs. He's got power. He's got an OPS. He's vocal. He plays a position where he can be vocal. He plays a position where he could be a leader. How about you give something to Bobby Witt? Bobby Witt's a really, really good baseball player. Jose Ramirez is playing great, but you know what, though? Not as good as the other two. So Cal Raleigh and Bobby Witt, you guys got 60 games to prove yourself. Judge is going to be minus 10. Judge gets the MVP if he comes back in 10 games and continues what he's doing. But right now, if you're Cal Raleigh and Bobby Witt Jr., you got to be thinking to yourself, I don't wish anything on anybody. But you know what, though? One of us could win an MVP right here if Judge goes down for the rest of the season. Because I don't see a flexor strain. That's what Judge has. I don't know, man. We'll see what happens with that because the Yankees are 6 games behind right now. And they're 6 games behind the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, the Toronto Blue Jays, I don't know what's going on. Toronto Blue Jays are playing really, really good baseball right now. The Red Sox in that division are playing really good baseball right now. Now, the Red Sox are playing such good baseball right now. I think the only reason why they got rid of Rafael Devers or gave him a trade is because maybe he was just a headache, or maybe he just wasn't going with the flow, or maybe he just didn't fit in that locker room. Red Sox have always had kind of like a knack of maybe, finding these young guys that just get in, they're gritty players, and they just, want to play baseball. Jaron Duran's one of them. With the way the Boston Red Sox have been playing lately, I was kind of hoping maybe the Mets could make some noise and try and get Jaron Duran to play center field with us. But looking into that a little bit, Boston Red Sox want starting pitching because the Boston Red Sox are going for it too. So I got to tell you, Jaron Duran, if you guys are out there and you're a Mets fan, I think that's just really just a pipe dream because they want starting pitching and we got no room to give up any of our starting pitching because that right now looks like it's going to kind of be a thorn in our side because it's going to be in and out. Now, my New York Mets. Now, the New York Mets, years in the past, everybody's like, oh, how are they going to play coming out of the All-Star break? I don't know if their pitching is going to be able to hold up. Is Lindor going to bounce back? 0 for 31. Is Pete going to continue to bat 370? Soto. What's up with Soto? He's getting his hits. He's getting his RBIs. Doesn't seem like he knows. It doesn't seem like he's helping. You're not watching if you don't think Soto's helping his baseball team. The Mets are in a position right now. They're a half a game up on the Philadelphia Phillies in first place. Now, if you're wondering how the Mets did coming out of the All-Star break, I think they're doing pretty damn good. They swept the Angels, took care of them. Now, anybody says, oh, wow, it's just the Los Angeles Angels or whatever they call themselves these days. The Angels are a good baseball team. They got a healthy Mike Trout right now. They got pitchers. They got Taylor Ward, who's hitting the ball. They're a good baseball team. You know what? The Mets came out of the All-Star break and swept them. A little shaky coming out of those games because the top of the lineup didn't hit. We had to rely on some of our young stars. By young stars, I mean Brett Beatty, who is definitely making it known that he wants to be the starting third baseman of the New York Mets. So the Mets, they sweep the Angels. They get out of here at 1 o'clock in the afternoon with a win. Then we end up in San Francisco. Now, San Francisco, San Diego, Los Angeles, even Anaheim, all these California games, Colorado. The Colorado games I can miss or whatever because it's Colorado. But these games don't start till 9, 10 o'clock at night. I find myself waking up the next day to see what happened. Even on a Friday night, I can't make it till 10 o'clock. I'm working my ass off all day in Harlem, building Harlem Hospital, and sweating my ass off, and then coming home, and I can't make it till 10 o'clock. So I got to wake up, and I got to, kind of watch the highlights and see what happened the night before, like I did this morning, 2-1 last night. Another win by the Mets. San Francisco's a good baseball team, right? The other night, 8-1. You know what I noticed about these that 8-1 win? The top of the lineup hit. Lindor 3 for 5. Nimmo 2 for 5. Soto 2 for 5. Now look, Alonso took an over, which is fine. Alonso's allowed to do that. But the top of the lineup hit. If you want to look at this Mets team as a whole, when the top of the lineup specifically doesn't hit, they're going to lose. Now also, you want to look at their pitching. Now, Clay Holmes the other day. Clay Holmes gave up 6 hits. And then the bullpen came in and kind of saved the day. They gave up no runs, 7 strikeouts. Diaz didn't pitch that night. You want to talk about their pitching. Their middle relief is okay. They came in, bailed them out the other night. Excuse me. Diaz got another save last night. Now, look, Diaz is never going to go back to being Diaz of a couple of years ago before he did that silly celebration. He's also thinking about going back and playing for the national team again. We'll get into that another time, how I feel about that. But we got Diaz. Now we just need some help. Soto from Baltimore, didn't know too much about him. Lefty, throws pretty hard. He could plug up the middle there. I'd like to maybe pick one of these guys from maybe Minnesota or Cleveland who are looking for a transfer, maybe a little trade to get some middle relief. Clay Holmes gave up 6 hits the other night. But Clay Holmes is looking pretty good this year. Clay Holmes came from a Yankee team where he was a reliever, and everybody thought that he couldn't handle the load. But he's been pitching pretty good. I mean, listen, the other night they won, but he still gave up 6 hits. He gave up 9 hits that night as a team and 6 from him. Peterson. Peterson had his game the other day. Peterson got shelled last two times. Not last time, the time before. But you know what, though? Came right back last night with the win. Pitched pretty good. Pitched against Robbie Ray last night, and he picked up the win. Now, look, barring something really tragic happening, the Mets are going to make the playoffs. Now, when I say the Mets are going to make the playoffs, I don't think they can make a wild card. Are they going to win the division? I would love to see an NL East flag hanging in the City Field. That means we beat out the Phillies. Or are they going to make it a rough road like they did last year? Now, look, they won the wild card last year. Pete Alonso was responsible for one of the greatest moments as a Met fan I've ever seen by hitting that home run. It was great. Oh, like I tell you guys all the time, we were there for the watch party. The watch party was phenomenal. Then we go to Philly, beat the Phillies. Then I tell you, and I feel this way, Francisco Lindor hit the best home run I've ever witnessed on television in my life. Again, two of them in two series. Lindor trotting around those bases like he's supposed to be there. Lindor trotting around those bases like somebody turned around, looked at him, and says, "Listen, you got to go out there and hit a grand slam." He said, "I got this." And like he went out there and like he was supposed to do it. We need that guy back this year. We need the Pete that hit that big home run back last year. We have Juan Soto on this baseball team. You ever watch Juan Soto? Now look, let's be honest. You know, Juan Soto looks like, Tanner Boyle out there in right field sometimes. Like, can't throw, can't catch. He looks like sometimes there are times when he looks like a little league outfielder out there. But if you want to talk about approach, you want to talk about a student of the game of hitting, he's one of the best there is. He's one of the best at doing the little idiosyncrasies that baseball players do. Juan Soto's not that fast, but you know what? He's stealing bases. Look at Juan Soto when he gets that little walking lead. And he ends up standing up second base. It's just these little things that he observes as a baseball player. I mean, look, do I wish that he would have put a little more of that observance in catching a baseball? Sure. But his presence in that 3 spot in this Mets lineup gives so much confidence to the rest of these guys. When I mean the rest of these guys, I mean these young guys. Soto might be a guy that kind of would rather be by himself. Soto, maybe he might be a little douchey. I don't know. But look, we all know guys like that. Maybe he is, the guy that's just there for the money. Well, if you're there for the money, brother, you sign up for an awfully long contract. So you're going to be there for 15 years. So you better start making friends. Maybe he's just a quiet guy. All I know is some of these guys, you ask them about his preparation, and when they watch him hit, they say there's nothing like it in baseball. I don't want to hear about that Soto shuffle. Who cares about all that bullshit? I want Juan Soto to get up there. Look, $700 million. I'm not going to go crazy about the money again because you know how I feel about that. Stop going to the game. Stop watching. Stop buying the jerseys. Just stop contributing to the game of baseball if you think that Juan Soto makes a lot of money. It's a decision that somebody made, and you're not paying these guys, and you're going to watch the game. So you know what, though? I don't give a shit if they gave Soto $1 billion. Right now, he's my 3-hitter, and he's really turning it on. I have a bet with my buddy that he's going to bat over 300 by the end of the year. He's batting 259 right now. Doesn't look too good, but if he has a 400 August, like I'm predicting, then he definitely will. And you want to look at some of the young talent right now that has to pick it up or has to stop playing. I'm going to talk about the 3 individuals, and I'm going to get to my guy. Right now, you got Brett Baty, Mark Vientos, and Ronnie Mauricio, who are 3 position players that are battling to either not be traded or not to go down. If you want to look at the 3 of them, if you tell me I had the same Mark Vientos from the playoffs last year, that he came in and just took over third base just like it was his, like last year, I'd say, yeah, he's my guy. Mark Vientos took an insane step backwards in his sophomore year this year. Sophomore jinx, who knows? You know who played better as the season went on, though? Is Brett Baty. Beginning of the season, I had no hope in Brett Baty. I didn't think Brett Baty was even going to be on this baseball team. I thought Brett Baty might be working at, Gristedes with Tommy DeVito. That's local supermarket or whatever, cutting cold cuts. But Brett Baty has gotten progressively better. It shows in his ethic. He shows in his work ethic. He shows that his approach to the ball, and it shows the way he's fielding the baseball too. The way he's fielding the baseball is he looks like a third baseman more so than Mark Vientos. What Mark Vientos did have on Brett Baty, though, was his ability to hit in the clutch, his ability to get big hits. That was all gone this year. Because if you want to look at Brett Beatty's numbers, they're not too earth shattering. But if there's some kind of stat out there, you want to look at Brett Beatty's stats and tell me that he got hits in big positions. Yeah, absolutely. Runners in scoring position, getting on base, hitting a double, stealing bases, making plays at third. Brett Beatty right now, going on a playoff run, as these New York Mets are, should be getting as much reps as possible at third base. Now, don't get me wrong. Ronnie Mauricio, he's another one. Ronnie Mauricio could be plugged in at second base there. Ronnie Mauricio is a big man who could hit home runs, and he's fast, and he looks very comfortable on the field. Then you got Acuna. I love this kid. He's not going to hit 500-foot home runs like his big brother over there in Atlanta. He's half the size of him. Shit, at times he literally looks like he's 14 years old. I wish there was some way where we just keep this kid active on the Mets roster, get in there to steal some bases, get in there when my boy Francisco Alvarez needs a runner. He does all these little things that baseball teams, not every baseball team has a guy like that. Look, he's not going to hit a home run. He weighs about 130 pounds. If he gets a big home run, you know that's going to be a big deal in the Mets clubhouse. But what he is going to do is add some speed. He's going to add a stolen base here. He's going to maybe add a bunt. Maybe let's get the suicide going. Let's probably play some small ball. But you know what? He's another one. If for some reason he's not ready, he has to go down, then so be it. If you want to look at those guys right there, and you got to keep two, I keep Mauricio and Beatty. Beatty's going to start at third base. Mauricio's going to play second base. Maybe they'll platoon a little bit back and forth. But on a playoff run right now, Beatty and Mauricio have to become some sort of everyday baseball player. Because Vientos, you could be somebody that might be offered in a trade. You could be somebody that might get sent down because maybe, that sophomore year is a little too much for you. Let's give you another try next year. But Brett Beatty, keep playing the way you're playing. Ronnie Mauricio, keep getting more comfortable. Beatty might go down. Now let's get to the catcher position. The catcher position is Francisco Alvarez. Now look, Luis Torrens, look, he filled in good. He's a mature catcher. He throws people out, calls a good game. We had the second coming of Mike Piazza supposedly coming up in Francisco Alvarez. Now, he's Venezuelan. He's a lot shorter. He's a little bit more of a hyper kid. He's not Mike Piazza, but I'm just talking about the way Mike Piazza hit the baseball for the New York Mets and the Dodgers for that matter. He got sent down. And you want to look at Francisco Alvarez from a perspective of being a catcher. He's learning every single day. He's still young. He idolizes all the professional catchers. He idolizes the game of baseball. He knows how it's supposed to be played. He knows a catcher is supposed to get to know the pitchers. He knows the catcher is supposed to get to know the batters. He knows he's supposed to be a student of the game of baseball. The only thing that was just a little bit off was his swing. Now, Yankee fans, look at Dominguez as well. They both have the same problem. They have that uppercut swing that if they connect, the ball is going to go 500-600 feet. Fix a little bit of Alvarez's swing. Make him maybe level off a little bit. Maybe make him, an adjustment. I'm not a hitting coach. I don't know. Sometimes when you see a team that has, from 1 to 9, they just hit, maybe it is something to say about a hitting coach on a Major League Baseball team. You're not just there for emotional support. Something they see. Well, let's hope somebody saw something in Francisco Alvarez the other night because he hit a home run the other night in his return. He had a triple last night. He's back. He's got a full head of hair. Just had a baby the other night. And he's ready. Today, he's ready. Yesterday, the day before, he's ready. And these are 3 games back now. I don't know what he's going to go to or know what he's going to become. But if he continues to play the way he's playing, we have the catcher of the future locked up. No more hiccups, Francisco Alvarez. No more, I don't know why I'm striking out every day. Look, Marte grabbed you last year in the playoffs. Had a conversation with you. It was well known. Everybody said it. You went 6 for 8 after that and contributed big time. Somebody have a conversation with you this year. Somebody sit down with you. But you need to be the number 1 catcher and the guy on that baseball team. Because you know what? Pitching lab or not, somebody's going to come in here. Somebody maybe with an attitude, maybe somebody without an attitude. You're going to have to grab a new pitcher that comes to this baseball team, whether it be a superstar, or whether it be a reliever, or whether it be somebody that's going to contribute. And you got to get a harness on this pitching staff. You can't let Peterson go back to what he was doing. You can't let Clay Holmes give up 6 hits. You have to be confident in the pitches that you're calling. You have to be confident in what you're doing. And you got to have conversations with all these guys. Kodai Senga, I don't know, you speak Venezuelan to him. He'll speak to you in his language. Kodai Senga right now is the number 1 pitcher. That's 3. Peterson, Senga, Clay Holmes, and now you got the guy who I think is going to be the key to a World Series. And if this man stays healthy, this man stays strong, focused, Sean Manaea going forward, the stronger he gets. Think about this for a second. He just got back 2 weeks ago. So he's fresh. He's ready to throw 100 some odd innings. He's ready. So you got a healthy Manaea, a healthy Senga, healthy Peterson, healthy Clay Holmes. Listen, Frankie Montas, not a big fan. Pitched okay last time, got shelled the time before. Kind of hoping something is in the works right now where Frankie Montas does not get to be the number 5. Maybe they're looking for something at middle relief. Jared Duran's situation is not going to happen because Boston wants pitching. There are other center fielders out there, but the McNeil combo over there, I think that makes a little bit more sense. I don't know if Siri is going to come back, but Siri hasn't played all year. I have no confidence in his bat. Maybe his, whatever he can do. But center field, maybe there might be somebody in the future that's, maybe a surprise. I don't know. But that's pretty much center field is the place where I would like a better player to be every day. Now, I like Tyrone Taylor. I think he plays the outfield position at center field hard. He runs hard. But his bat just isn't there yet. Maybe a year from now, maybe 2 years from now. But this Mets team this year, he doesn't have time to get his swing down. Mets don't have time to put somebody out there that really isn't too good with the bat just because he's got a good glove. We got to put people in position to win baseball games. And you got to do both. You got to be Juan Soto and right. Look, Juan Soto, he's, he's serviceable. He could catch, but he's not on the Mets to catch. He's on the Mets to hit. Got Nimmo, Lindor, Beatty, Big Pete Alonso, Francisco Alvarez. I need to be talking about this team in October or November. And the Yankees, you're not holding up your end of the bargain, guys, because I have no faith in the fact that you're going to make the playoffs. I have a feeling that it's going to be a one-sided town this year come playoff time if you don't get up and start playing some baseball. Because right now, the Yankees are falling and the Mets are just rising. David Stearns, I know you like the no-names. I know you like the guys that you like to pull out of a hat. I know you got tricks up your sleeve. What kind of trick you got up your sleeve right now? What kind of trick do you have up your sleeve where you're going to make a splash and you're going to bring us somebody that's going to contribute? Mets, I want you guys to win a World Series this year. Out of all the teams I root for, I'm going to go into the Jets in a little while, but of all teams I root for, this is the team that I want to win a championship more than anything. So let's go from here. Trade deadline's coming up. David Stearns, are you going to do something for us, or are you just going to keep it the same? Let's see. One more note about baseball. The Hall of Fame induction is in today. Now, I always have a problem with the Hall of Fame induction. Always have a problem with it. I know I keep telling you that I met somebody on vacation that's a beat writer for the Yankees. He also told me he has a vote for the Hall of Fame. These 3 guys this year deserve it. Now, look, man, you got CC Sabathia. CC Sabathia played 19 years in the major leagues, very successful seasons with the Indians, very successful seasons with the Yankees, won a World Series in 2009 with the Yankees. He's got a lifetime 251 and 161 win-loss, 3.7 ERA. He started 560 games. He's got 3,093 strikeouts. If you want to put that to an average, it averages out to about 187 strikeouts a year. 6 times in his career, he had over 18 wins. Like I said, he won a World Series in '09. The year they won the World Series, he had 19 wins at a 3.3 ERA and 197 strikeouts. CC Sabathia, congratulations to you on your entrance in the Hall of Fame today, because you, my friend, deserve it. I also heard that you got a son that's a pretty damn good baseball player over there in Jersey, and good luck to your family as well. And you were really good for baseball, CC. The way you stuck up for your men, the way you hit that guy in Tampa, you are an all-around baseball player, all-around gentleman, and congratulations on getting into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Billy Wagner. They don't let too many closers into the Hall of Fame. Billy Wagner's got 422 saves. Now, let's be honest. Billy Wagner was okay. Billy Wagner played in a time period where you had Mariano Rivera, who is some consider the greatest closer slash pitcher slash baseball player even that ever lived. Billy Wagner played in that era. Billy Wagner had seasons when he had over 30 saves. He had 25, saves, pitched 903 innings to 422 saves. Billy Wagner, congratulations on your entrance into the Hall of Fame. Now, this guy right here is a player that anybody in their right mind would say no about this guy. Anybody in this right mind that would have anything bad to say about this guy has to have their head examined. I know he got 99.7% of the voting. I don't know if that's a 0.3 of somebody just saying no. But back to the guy that I talked to about having a vote for the Hall of Fame. Don't tell me that this stuff doesn't get looked at. Maybe he pissed off. So I don't know what it is. I couldn't see that happening because Ichiro Suzuki is going into the Hall of Fame today. I saw a stat about Ichiro that blew my mind. Ichiro Suzuki at 26 years old. All right, this is the stat. Suzuki at 26 years old had 0 major league hits. 0. Ended his career with 3,093 at the age of 26 going forward. Most baseball players have a whole bunch of, hits and home runs, up until that point in their career. But for him, 26 years old, getting into the major league, starting from scratch, 3,093 hits, lifetime batting average of 311, 9,900 bats. He had 3,089 hits. That's pretty damn good. Okay. He batted 350 4 times in his career. 354 times. So now Ichiro Suzuki, you played well over in Japan, and you played amazing over here in the United States of America. And it was a pleasure getting to watch you play baseball. And it's going to be a pleasure today watching you go into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. To these 3 gentlemen, congratulations on your entrance into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. And let's hope next year's class, kind of involves maybe some of the steroid guys. Barry Bonds, greatest baseball player that ever lived. Listen, Roger Clemens, asshole, deserves to be in. A-Rod, asshole, deserves to be in. You name it. Barry Bonds, get him into the Hall of Fame. And then, so we could get up there in front of the pulpit, look at everybody and just say no. I don't know what he would do. Maybe it would be an honor, maybe it won't. But that's my story about the Hall of Fame. 3 guys that definitely deserve it. Football's starting to heat up a little bit now. Now, when I say football's starting to heat up a little bit, starting to be some, I guess they call water cooler talk, or, everybody's starting to make their moves. Everybody's starting to get their, listen, training camp started this week. That's why football's in the news. Let's be honest. People, everybody has to report. All their teams are together now. They're not going to be, getting anybody in a trade. They're not going to be releasing. Well, they're going to be releasing people because those are just guys that don't make the team. But for the most part, a lot of these teams have everything set. Now, if you want to look at professional football right now in the NFL, it is key. It is paramount that you have a top-notch quarterback. When I mean top-notch quarterback, it's like, think of these names I'm going to say to you right now. Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Even throw Joe Burrow into that. Even though Joe Burrow hasn't won a goddamn thing, I guess they consider him elite. Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, but without Saquon Barkley, who knows what happened last year. Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, but do I think he's elite? Not really. Then you got a bunch of other quarterbacks, probably second-tier quarterbacks, maybe, and I think Jalen Hurts belongs then just because the fact that he won a Super Bowl last year, they're putting him as elite, but Herbert, Stafford, Goff, Brock Purdy, CJ Stroud, even add Aaron Rodgers into that mix. Pittsburgh Steelers got a lot better. Aaron Rodgers with a chip on his shoulder. Jet fans, you know as well as I do, after week 7 or 8, Aaron Rodgers was ready to play football. Came back from an injury that I told everybody he was going to come back from quick. He did it, but maybe that was a detriment. Maybe he came back too quick. But all I know is I feel as a Jet fan that maybe the Jets gave up on him. I feel as a Jet fan, maybe hiring Aaron Glenn, which I like. I'll go into that in a couple of minutes. Maybe he wanted to start off with a new quarterback. Who knows? Well, I know that Aaron Rodgers is going to be throwing the football for the Pittsburgh Steelers. DK Metcalf. I don't know about that, man. That looks like it's going to be an offense that's going to score some points. I fully believe that if you would have asked me today, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to beat the Jets by 4 touchdowns on opening day. But hey, listen, you never know. The Jets are a completely different football team. I'm going to go into them in a couple of minutes. But I read an article on, I guess, maybe X or something like that, that talked about a couple of quarterbacks specifically, these sophomore quarterbacks who are pretty much considered to be elite quarterbacks. Now, you have a couple of teams there that are going for it. And I don't know really what goes into making a difference the minute you step on a football field. Is it your personality? Is it your athleticism? I mean, look, we've seen a lot of really amazing athletes step on a football field and get humbled really quickly. So athleticism, yeah, it helps, but something else maybe that you need. I don't know if it's you got to be smart. I just don't know because I don't play football. I don't play the quarterback position on a high level. It's 4 quarterbacks that I'm going to mention right now that are going to lead their teams this year. Okay. And one was thrown into a position last year in Michael Penix Jr. They gave Kirk Cousins a shitload of money. And obviously he didn't come through. Obviously, maybe Kirk Cousins was hurting a little bit. Maybe Kirk Cousins, I don't know what it was, but maybe he forgot how to play football. But they drafted Michael Penix Jr. for a reason. He came from a big school, Washington, where he played football at a high level. I wanted the Jets to get him. I thought maybe if the Jets were to get him in the second round, maybe he'd be ready this year. But we're going with Justin Fields instead. But I love Michael Penix. I think Atlanta's a team that's on the rise. I think Michael Penix has a couple of wide receivers. They got a coach that's really in for the win. They got an offensive line that's going to protect them. So Michael Penix is in a position right now where I don't think he's going to, compete for a Super Bowl, but they're going to be relevant. They're in a division where the football that's being played there right now is really not top notch. If you really want to really go into it, I mean, how did San Francisco do last year? They had 6 wins last year. You got Seattle in that division. I mean, Seattle, will they be better? I don't know. Is Sam Darnold a better alternative than Geno Smith? We're going to find out this year because I think Sam Darnold was a product of his environment because he was in San Francisco already, didn't do shit. We obviously know he started out with the Jets where he definitely didn't get, listen, he started off with a shit coach. So, I mean, he didn't even have a shot when he came to the Jets. But now he's out there in Seattle. Listen, you never know. Let's see what happens because Atlanta's a team, like I said, let's go back to Atlanta. They're on the up with Michael Penix. So then you got Drake May. Now, Drake May is interesting. Now, I think Drake May is a good quarterback. He's got all the tools. But the Patriots are in a little bit of a different position. Patriots, their offense and their defense, they're young. Their coach last year was not ready to coach a professional football team. A lot of stuff was going on over there. The Belichick era is over. The Brady over has been over for years. Do we bring in guys from that era? Gerard Mayo, he was a player for them, but you know what, though? Maybe not just a good coach. So the New England Patriots decided to go in a direction of bringing in Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel took a couple of Tennessee Titans teams to the playoffs that had no business being there. He seems to be a disciplinarian. He's an offensive-minded coach. He, right now, is looking at a quarterback that has all the tools to become not Tom Brady by any stretch, but to lead a football team. Now, what Vrabel's going to do for that team is he's going to bring in a new culture. They're going to bring in a culture that's going to let these guys know that they can win. All I know is when they had Mac Jones on that football team, if you want to look at Mac Jones right now, I don't even know where he is right now, but he's off somewhere, not doing much. I'm a little afraid of what's going to happen over there in New England because as a Jet fan, I have no faith in what's going on over there. That's just because I'm a Jet fan, and they could put number 1 players at every single position. That's not going to do it for me. Patriots on their way back. Drake May, in my eyes, they had the quarterback of the future. Patriots, are they going to make noise this year? I don't think so. So that's the second sophomore quarterback that's going to make noise this year. That's going to make his team a lot better, but I think we're still looking about a year or 2 out. Bo Nix. Sean Payton had this kid on his radar. Sean Payton wanted this kid so bad. Watched him play football. Sean Payton is an offensive mind coach, goes to Denver, takes over a football team that's been mediocre for a bunch of years, getting some wide receivers. Judy was out of there. You have some kind of, you got your offensive line, that wasn't too happy. Now they're happy. But Bo Nix, to me, is a quarterback that last year watched him throw the ball all over the place. And it really didn't matter who the wide receivers were. It didn't matter who the tight end was. The kid might have taken off running. You know what it is about him? He's got confidence. They have a defense that was ranked in the top 10 through pretty much the entire season last year. They're cornerbacks, locked down cornerbacks. They have a defense that, if looking at the offense with Bo Nix leading it, Bo Nix could throw for 500 yards a game because that's what he does. He throws the ball all over the place. Denver's in a position right now with Russell Wilson finally gone, Bo Nix being the guy. Bo Nix is being in his second year. All these quarterbacks came from programs where a lot of people were watching them play every Saturday. They were coming from programs. Listen, it wasn't the SEC, but they were coming from very competitive divisions. Is Denver going to win a Super Bowl this year? I don't think so. Are they going to make the playoffs? Possibly. But all I know is Denver's another team that's got their quarterback of the future. Bo Nix, good luck to you too, man, because, you never know with the Denver Broncos. Sean Payton's a good coach. They got a good defense, and they got a good offense. We'll see what happens with them. Maybe not this year, but Bo Nix in the future, maybe. This fourth kid I'm going to talk about is ready. He showed it last year. I don't think there's going to be any sophomore jinx with him. Jaden Daniels looked like he was ready to play professional football the minute he walked on the field last year. Look, new ownership got that guy out of there. He was a mess. Didn't know how to own a football team. They sell the team. New owner picks up. They draft Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels played against the crowd like LSU with chanting his name, screaming, has number one wide receivers up for the moment at every single snap. He looked the same going into football on the professional level last year. And don't let Washington fool you. They just got better. They acquired 2 offensive linemen who are ready to protect Jaden Daniels, and they got Deebo Samuel. And if anybody's watched the San Francisco 49ers and loves Deebo Samuel, because I pick him up every single year on my fantasy team, that got the Redskins the Super Bowl. That got the Redskins the step they needed to go further and make a Super Bowl run. They said last year that if Jaden Daniels carried that football team to a Super Bowl, it would be the first rookie quarterback in the history of football to take his team to a Super Bowl. Just fell short. This year, the Washington Redskins are ready to go in and win a Super Bowl. Yes, I know they're the Commanders. I know it's very, chic right now to talk about how the fact that they want to be called the Redskins again. I don't care. Just go play football. Take the politics out of this bullshit. And Jaden Daniels, I know my buddy Eddie out there in California is a huge Redskins fan. He's ready, bud. Washington Redskins with Jaden Daniels are ready to win a Super Bowl. We'll see what happens. If any other teams in that division have anything to say about it, like I said, Atlanta might have something to say about it. Green Bay may have something to say about it. But bottom line is Washington, Philadelphia is in your division. They may have something to say about it. But Washington Redskins / Commanders can win a Super Bowl this year. Now to my Jets. I'm not going to spend too much time on my Jets. I just want to give you a little couple of thoughts about how I feel about what they did and what they're doing. Now, the other day, if you're like me, I'm at work. I look down at my phone. I look down. I get the alert. Justin Fields carted off the field. So me, being a Jet fan, first thing that comes to my head, Jaden Daniels carted off the field. He's probably going to have his leg amputated because that's what happens in Jetland. Whatever the worst possible thing that could happen happens to Jet fans. 4 snaps in, one of the greatest quarterbacks that ever lived. We finally got him on our team. 4 snaps in, season over. We've never known how to pick quarterbacks. We've never had super elite quarterbacks. We got Curtis Martin is our greatest player ever of all time. You could say Joe Klecko. You could say a whole bunch of different, but we never have elite quarterbacks. Justin Fields probably had to have his leg amputated. Thank God that's not the case. But there is a concerning thing about what happened with this Justin Fields the other day. And look, I'm excited about him. I think he's going to be good. I think he's in an offense now that's young and they could, learn. I'm a little concerned about the fact that it looked like he hit the ground like he got shot. You dislocated your toe and you need to be carted off the field. Now, I'm not going to go into a major rant about how you should be tough because that's all I talk about. But pick your balls up off the football field and walk off that field like a man with a dislocated toe. I don't want to hear it. This is football. You're tough. Do not get carted off the field because of a dislocated toe. Now, all that aside now, Justin Fields, get out there and win some football games. Because the Jets right now, last year, look, on paper, they looked like they could have made some noise. They didn't do shit last year. Okay? Got us all excited. Got us crazy. Got Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback. Aaron Rodgers started looking like a quarterback come week 8. We gave up on Aaron Rodgers. But I think that the key right now to the Jets' success right now lies in the fact that we have a coach that we didn't have for the last couple of years. Last year, we had a bunch of coaches that were enamored by an aging football player who did whatever the hell he wanted on my New York Jets. That's not going to happen this year. Whether he wanted to keep Aaron Rodgers or not, he had to go. Aaron Glenn's coming in here. He wants a fresh team. He wants to have full control, and that's it. He doesn't want anybody telling him what to do. He doesn't want anybody telling him how to run his football team, offense or defense. So Aaron Rodgers being gone, that's fine. Justin Fields, you better toughen up. Aaron Glenn will rip you right off the field if that's the case, because I'm pretty excited about the way he's going to be coaching this football team. He's quiet, doesn't say too much. He comes from a defensive mindset. Now, that being said, Aaron Glenn played cornerback at a pretty high level for the New York Jets. I managed to watch him a lot. That was my heyday of watching the Jets. Big Jet fan there, going to games, hanging out with my friends. Aaron Glenn, number 31. He's our defensive back. He's our cornerback. He wasn't elite, but he was really, really good. Then he became a coach, and he coached the Detroit Lions defense. Almost won Super Bowls with them, but he wasn't the head coach. Now he's the head coach. He's got experience. He's got experience on a high-level football team like the Detroit Lions. He's played football on a high level. Now what you need to do, Aaron Glenn, is before the season starts, is I want you to grab that number 1 cornerback who just signed a very, very lucrative deal. I want you to sit him down, and I want you to say to him, you don't run away from tackles. You cover the number 1 receiver on the football field. I don't care what defense I'm calling. If the number 1 receiver is there, you switch it up and you cover. And God damn it, hit somebody. Play the position like a man. You're not Deion Sanders where you're going to intercept or block everything. You got to hit. The New York Jets gave you a shitload of money this year. Act like it. Be the cornerback that everybody knows that you could be. I was very hard on you last year. Now, I know he doesn't. Nobody gives a shit. You know what I say, but I have an opinion because I'm a fan. Everybody's got a podcast these days. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody wants to tell you what they think. I don't know. It's fun, right? Who cares? Maybe someone will, like what I'm saying. Maybe some of you guys don't like what I'm saying. But Sauce Gardner, you got to hear this. You got to be a football player this year. You got to play the position at a high level. No more bullshit. I need you to hit. I need you to get interceptions. And I need you to be a team player. Got the cornerback on the other side. Young kid. Don't know what he's going to do this year. The defense. I don't know what the defense is going to do this year either. Because last year they were supposed to be good. I think they just gave up. Men don't give up. So if that's the case, maybe you just played shitty football last year. I don't know what it is. But the fact of the matter is that the Jets defense has to play this year because their offense is going to look to do something this year. You want to look at the wide receiver on the other side there, Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson's got potential to be a number 1 wide receiver in professional football. He's fast. He can catch. But he showed last year, too, that he's got a little bit of an attitude. He just got a shitload of money. Justin Fields, you got a wide receiver right there, and Garrett Wilson who wants to catch footballs. Everybody else, you got Alan Lazard, and you got, a couple of who's who. You got Xavier Gibson. You got a couple of who's who of wide receivers. Probably a couple of them aren't going to even be on the football team next year. But focus on Garrett Wilson. You got tight ends. Aaron Glenn already told us about the tight ends. He wants them to be a block-first tight end, then catch out of the backfield. That's what we need with the running quarterback. That's what we need with a mobile quarterback. That's what we need with a quarterback who needs a little time to throw the football. And then maybe take off. We got an offensive line this year. We picked up our number 1 pick, Mambu. Last year, the kid from Penn State, Fasalu. I don't ever how to pronounce his name. Those guys are going to be on the ends. Center, 2 guards, Vera Tucker, Johnson. The 5 of you have to protect Justin Fields. Protect him with your life. Tell him that. Let him know that. Let him know to make the throws on the run because somebody's going to pop somebody out of nowhere. Let him know that you got his back. That's what the quarterback needs to get that confidence back. Hit Garrett Wilson downfield. Hit your tight ends out of the backfield. Breece Hall, 879 yards out of the backfield last year. Is that a number 1 receiver to you? Is that a number 1 running back to you? No. I'll take Breece Hall and trade him. How about that, Jet fans? Maybe we get rid of Breece Hall. Maybe Breece Hall's not the answer. We got another running back. We got 2 running backs, as a matter of fact. And I think the other kid's better than Breece Hall. Breece Hall said it himself. He's got something to prove. It's a new regime. They just don't know me. Well, I got news for you, Breece. They knew the other 2 guys, too, from the old regime, Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson. They just gave them a shit ton of money. How come they didn't grab you and give you a contract? Maybe they know something about you. Maybe you're a troublemaker. Maybe you're not as good as everybody thinks you are. All I know is maybe the Jets could trade and get somebody for you. I don't know. If not, shut the fuck up and play football and be the number 1 back with the other 2 kids learning from you. Jets, this year, I'm not going to put any stock in what they're going to do this year. The over-under is 5.5 football games. 5.5 games, the over-under. That's how much Vegas thinks about the New York Jets this year. I was hoping to think a little bit more of them. I take the under. I'll tell you right now, I have no faith in my New York Jets winning 6 football games this year. Open it up against the Steelers. Steelers at home. I already told you I think Aaron Rodgers is going to throw like crazy. Next is the home game against the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen, still an elite quarterback, still wants to destroy the Jets, good or bad. Tampa, in Tampa. Miami, in Miami. Dallas is coming here. Dallas is a mess too, but I still think they have enough to beat the Jets. The Denver Broncos, I already told you how I feel about Bo Nix. Sauce Gardner, you better cover those receivers because Bo Nix is coming to throw the football. Carolina Panthers. Hey, who knows? Maybe I'll become a Carolina Panther one day. You know, they're close to where I'm hoping to move to. So maybe I'll become a Panthers fan. Young quarterback. Who knows? They may even come in to beat the Jets. Cincinnati away, Cleveland at home, New England away. New England's going to destroy them like they always do. Baltimore's going to destroy them in Baltimore. Atlanta with Michael Penix at home. They had no shot. Miami, being it's a divisional Miami game, maybe split. Jacksonville and Jacksonville. New Orleans, New England, and Buffalo. Jet fans, pick 6 wins out of this record. Just pick 6 wins. Bet the under. So that's my that's my sports report for the day. Now, this is the Mostly Sports Talk Show because it is mostly sports. I'm going to go into a couple of things right now that aren't sports related, but I'm going to start it off with something of a little bit of a comparison. Remember the Mitchell report? Who's on steroids? Who's not on steroids? Who uses the cream? Who's got to testify in front of Congress, Senate, whatever? Who's going to admit it? Who's not going to admit it? Whose names get released from the Mitchell report? I don't know. Is there more names? We don't know. Let's equate that to the Epstein files. Now the Epstein files is big news. It's separating people on the left. It's separating people on the right. It's a distraction from what's going on. We all know that. Do we care? Maybe. These whole Epstein file things, you got Ghislaine Maxwell, whatever her name is. This is why I'm equating the Mitchell report to the Epstein files because it says she's got 100 names. Lots of high-profile people on that list. Lots of people are going to be in trouble. 100 names? I'd say it's got to be more than that. So what's going to happen now with the Epstein files? Is our names going to trickle out because that's going to help one side or the other? Are all these people on the left, right, that Pam Bondi knew that Donald Trump's name was going to be on the Epstein files list and gave him a heads up a couple of months ago to try to find a distraction. Tulsi Gabbard out there, who I love, saying Obama should be arrested for treason. All this all may be true. All this all may be factual. But at the end of the day, it's just distractions. The Epstein files is going to get a lot of people in trouble. And not the kind of trouble that people think like maybe cheating on their wives. Well, I guess there was cheating on wives, but and even like cheating on their taxes or cheating in life, or people that are just like, kind of bad people. I think that there's going to be some people on this list that are going to be accused of doing some heinous, heinous shit. And to say that it's a Democrat or a Republican thing is absolutely insane. Is Donald Trump on that list? Who knows? I feel that Donald Trump was over there having sex with young girls. I don't think so. But anything's possible these days. Now, all of a sudden, he wants the list, out. And the Democrats don't. It's a political pawn. Jeffrey Epstein was a piece of shit. And he was a piece of shit with a lot of connections. He knew a lot of people. He probably answers to and knows people that we don't even know names. We don't even know what they look like. They're just very bad people with a ton of money who are running the world. Everybody says Bill Clinton's on that list. I fully believe Bill Clinton's on that list. People say all sorts of other politicians and hedge fund guys are on this list. All I know is you're hiding some disgusting shit that happened. A couple weeks ago, let's go back to the P. Diddy shit. Puff Daddy got off. Puff Daddy is garbage. P. Diddy's a garbage human being. Let's just take it for what it is. There's one video of him out there dragging this girl through the hotel, beating the living shit out of her. And that's not enough to convict somebody for something, that you're looking for something else, or you're trying to get other people. That's the fucking problem, guys. We're looking for the bigger thing. We're looking for the more money. We're looking for the bigger charge. P. Diddy should be in jail for assaulting and attempted murder. There's a video of him doing it. Yeah, I know we got football players, baseball players, athletes, singers, entertainment. People get caught doing something, and all of a sudden we say we're sorry, or they say they're sorry, and then all right, whatever. Listen, I don't roll with, somebody does something, I stop listening to music, or they say something, I stop listening to music or watching sports. If I like it, I'm just going to listen, and I'm not going to, Bruce Springsteen, everybody's all over him now. Bruce Springsteen, oh, you piece of shit liberal, blah, 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 blah. I still got to listen to Thunder Road, Rosalita, and you name the fucking great songs that Bruce Springsteen has pumped out in his illustrious almost 50 years of music. So if you're going to not listen to Bruce Springsteen, all of a sudden have to listen to him for 40 years because he's got some stupid shit to say about Trump, you're an idiot. That's just the way I feel. I voted for Trump. Happily. Proudly voted for Trump. I don't like him. I don't think he's a good guy. But I voted for him. Again, back to the Epstein things. I don't think he's on there being a pedophile and having sex with young girls. I just don't think that is his MO. I just don't. I think his narcissism and his honesty are his faults. I think the stuff that he says he really thinks he can do because he said he will do it. And if he doesn't for some reason, that's on him. I think he takes a lot of this on him. That's just the way he is. But again, I didn't say I liked him, but I do. I think he's the president of the United States of America. I do. And that's the problem with a lot of people right now. He's not my president. You live in America, he's your president. It worked for years and years and years. The person that you voted for doesn't win, you fall in line, and he's the president, or she's the president, which we haven't had a she yet. And yeah, Democrats, you did a really good job with your she the last couple of times. Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris. You can't come up with something better than that. How about you let yourself to Tulsi Gabbard? Oh, wait, she left your stupid party. Anyway, you had the woman right there. That woman right now is going after the Democratic Party hardcore. Now let's just take this as what it is. Let's just say Obama is arrested for treason, is arrested for knowing all well that the Russian hoax or the Russians tampering with the election was a hoax. He knew about it. He set it up. Collusion, millions of dollars. Obama's a bad guy. Did he do the stuff while he was president? Oh, you can't convict him for something he did while he was in the Oval Office, because that's what they're trying to do to Trump right now. They were trying to get him, but no, you can't because he's in the Oval Office. Regardless of all of that, if the United States of America indicts the only black president ever to be seated in the White House, you thought Rodney King was bad? You thought this George Floyd was bad? You thought, you name your riots throughout the years. That will divide this country more than anything. The OJ trial. You name your trial where there was protests. You name your decision where there was protests or decisions that affected people. The only thing that's going to affect people in general is the fact that you're looking at it just from a racial, vision. Not looking at it that maybe possibly there is a possibility that Obama could be guilty. Maybe it's a possibility that Trump can be guilty. Maybe it's a possibility that all of these politicians could be guilty of something. Just a matter of who's in charge. Who's in charge to push narratives? Who's in charge to push, whatever it is they're trying to do. Got to stop lying about each other. You got to stop out there telling mistruths. You put some stuff sometimes out there on these social media outlets, to be fun, kind of poke fun at stuff. I just had somebody comment on something that I post a video I did the other day. I mean, it got 6,000 views, to be honest with you. But this one person's comment kind of stuck. He goes, "Stop listening to news anchors." And I don't know if you know who you are, but everybody gets their news or their opinion based from somewhere. Now, I don't listen to news anchors. As a matter of fact, I posed a question last week on the same show. I said, "Where do you get your news from?" Because if you think you just sit there in a dark room, and come up with these thoughts all on your own, you're being skewed somehow. You're making up an opinion based on something. You make an opinion based on something that you've heard when you were a kid. Maybe you're based your opinion on something that you watched on a podcast. Or maybe you're basing your opinion on something that you saw on the news or read in the newspaper or read on Twitter or read somewhere. But you're getting stuff from somewhere. And it's even gotten to a point where if you read something, if you want to check and see if it's factual, I don't even believe some of those anymore. So what you really got to do is just take everything in, create your own decisions, be your own person, and don't yell and scream that you're right. Don't yell and scream that I'm wrong. Let's just realize that we're divided and our country is divided at a time where we could disagree about stuff if we need to. But at the end of the day, our nation's security is paramount. I don't care what's going on in other countries, guys. I don't know. I just don't. I don't care about that stuff. I mean, am I a bad person for not? Am I a bad person for just wanting to kind of, just get our shit together here first? Like I said something about, I said a word a while ago. I got called a racist. I'm going to go into that word at the end of the podcast here. Again, the fact that I don't care what people say, that's not what it is. It's just looking at the kind of way people think. And it has everything to do with money and nothing to do with common sense. Wars, homelessness. I brought up the fact that Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York State, said, "You know what? Here's $50 million to you migrants. You guys can't afford lawyers. No, we're going to pay for it." Sure. That's great. I know I said New York City. New York City. Attention, attention. If you're selling your house in the next year, wait Because the way this is going, the Zohan and AOC are going to be taking over New York City. They're going to open up free grocery stores. Free grocery stores. That sounds great. Great. Everything's going to be free. Free taxis, free transportation. Can you go on the subway for free? Can you believe that guy's free in New York City? They said free groceries. People are just going to walk around taking stuff off the shelves. Listen, they do that anyway because you can't prosecute a lot of these people in New York City. I guess, there's people running out of stores on a daily basis with steaks and whatever. I guess they need to feed their families, but, they shouldn't be here in the first place. These trickle-down effects of these people coming into this country, these migrants coming into this country, it's really putting a hurt on the country because now you want to start giving people free stuff. Right, Zohan? Okay, who's going to pay for it? Oh, your idea is to tax the rich. Let's tax the rich. Let's tax the businesses. Let's tax the billion-dollar businesses. That sounds great. Let's go. Let's topple it. Let's throw all the tea in the ocean. Yeah. Fuck the government. Let's tax all these big businesses. Then we're going to give everybody stuff for free. What are you, Robin Hood? When you say tax the rich, I'm not rich by any stretch of the imagination. But that's who you're going to be taking the money from. When you say rich, you mean middle class. You mean the big chunk of people that are paying the taxes. You also mean big businesses, and I do get that. We got to figure something else out about what's going on with the tax situation with people that make all this money. But the taxes are set up for Republicans and Democrats. If you're rich, it's set up for you to succeed. And what you want to do with your money, and unlike the Zohan, there should be billionaires in this country. Get out there and get it, guys. Okay? Everything's not equal in this world. There's winners and there's losers. There's people who are lazy and there's people who are not. There's people who want to do for themselves every day, and there's people that just want to take. New York City has a shit ton of people right now that just want to take. And you guys elect the Zohan, you guys in that city who don't want him to be your mayor and don't want AOC and Bernie Sanders to be walking down the streets with their rainbow flags. And that's another thing. Gotta get away from that narrative. Gays and lesbians, I'm saying it again, and I know I say it every single podcast. This is getting ridiculous. Please, you need to disconnect yourselves from the fact that you're fighting the same fight or fought the same fight that people on the rest of the letters or, transgender and binary, non-binary, questioning. You have a history of fighting. You have a history, and now it's come to a point where I've always accepted it because it's not even a question, but more people are accepting it. More people are going to gay weddings. More people are observing what gays and lesbians are doing for children who are orphaned, coming from parents that don't want their kids. You're adopting children. You're making money for the communities. You're being pillars of your community. Doesn't matter who you have sex with, you're a good person. But I'm telling you, all the rest of the stuff is a mental issue. Everything else involved with the rest of those letters is a mental issue. So a strong gay or lesbian leader has to stand up because your rights are being shit all over by these narratives. And if Mandani and AOC have it right, they're going to tell you that. They're going to give you the world. But at the end of the day, if you're rich, and a lot of you gays in New York City are rich, they're taking your money too. Go ahead. Vote for Mandani. Vote for this guy. This guy's going to be the leader of New York City. The leader. Howard Stern. Not going to spend too much time on him. What I do have to say is you let down a bunch of people in this country. I'm going to isolate this even a little bit. I'm going to go and I'm going to tag you in this, and they got millions of followers. But Howard Stern should be ashamed of himself. Howard Stern spent his life making jokes that are extremely funny. I'm not saying this because I didn't think it was great. You completely changed the landscape of talk radio. You made it okay to do fart jokes. You made it okay to make fun of retarded people. You made it okay to make fun of gays and lesbians. You made it okay to throw baloney at girls' asses, have strippers in your studio, have your interviews with these people and ask them outrageous questions. You changed the scope of freedom of speech. You said, fuck the FCC. I'm going to say whatever the hell I want. And I know there's going to be repercussions, but I'm going to do it anyway. You are now turning into the person that fought against you, who said that throwing baloney at girls' asses wasn't right. Having somebody on your show called Gary the Retard, the midget. Beetlejuice was a midget black guy who he was retarded, right? And other people, you say you exploited them. I will not. I will say that you made them relevant. You gave them some relevance in their life. Gary the Retard made a lot of money, I'm sure, more money than he would have ever made being who he was. Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice might have been dead. Beetlejuice made a lot of money because of you. Artie Lang saw right through you. Jackie the Joke Man saw right through you. Fred Norris stuck with him a long time. And Robin. What do you think of your guy right now? What do you think of the guy that used to stand up for the right to say whatever you want? Now telling us that we can't, or it's mean, or Trump is mean, or I had him on my show, and you are a shill for the liberal party. I'm not even going to say the Democrat party. You get up there and you talk about how everybody's mean, how Trump is a jerk, how I don't even know if you said it, but you leaving the country. I don't know, maybe not going that far, but you turned your back on freedom of speech when you said that the stuff that goes on is mean. So Howard Stern, go fuck yourself, and thank you. Thank you for opening up the doors to people like Opie and Anthony, who I enjoyed listening to for years and years and years. And all the rest of those crazy shows like Hulk Hogan's dead. I'm not going to go too much into that. But didn't he used to watch Mancow? Didn't Mancow used to watch Hulk Hogan have sex with his wife? Mancow, another guy, come from the Howard Stern tree. And all these guys throughout the country who went on regular radio and said, fuck you to regular radio. You have Howard Stern to thank for that. Now you're going to turn around and look at this man like, what a pussy. That's my rant on Howard Stern. Trump, South Park. You canceled Colbert. Completely against that. Why are we canceling Stephen Colbert? I think Stephen Colbert is not funny at all. I think Stephen Colbert is a douche. I don't think his jokes are funny. And from what I understand, he's losing money for CBS. Now, all that might be true. He's not my cup of tea. But it seems to be that some kind of merger with Paramount and money and this and that in the media cycles and what media outlet bought this media outlet. Stephen Colbert could say whatever he wants, even if it's not funny. I know a lot of people that say what they want. It's not funny. I know a lot of people that say what they want. It's mean, but they could say what they want. I say a lot of shit, out of pocket stuff. I say a lot of stuff that be misconstrued as mean. I just go about it a different way. I don't have any feelings. You can say what you want about me. Other people do, I guess, and I have to watch out for that. But Stephen Colbert is not funny, but you know what? Stephen Colbert could say whatever the hell he wants. Right, Howard Stern? But I don't think he should lose his job just because he said something about the president of the United States. And here comes the part that I don't like about this guy, because this is going to be a big one for me, because I already told you guys that I voted for him proudly. I voted for him because I feel like safety of our country is paramount. I don't want to give everything away. I feel like he's a strong leader. I feel like he's a better communicator. I feel like he gets shit done for us, not for them. When I say them, I mean 30 to 40 million migrants that ran into this country. Cares about the United States of America. Yeah, I'm sure that he has, interests other places, but I think at the end of the day, he cares and he wants to get stuff done. South Park gets canceled, or if South Park gets shit for this last episode, which by the way was unbelievably funny. I thought his outlook on Trump's personality was perfect. I think the parody of what's going on in this world is so genius. Now, if you want to go back in history and if you're a South Park fan like myself, everything that's happened, every kind of thing that needed to be parodied, how ridiculous, and people could look into how ridiculous shit is, South Park did it. So right now, if you haven't seen it yet, go and watch a South Park episode with Donald Trump. Funny as shit. But if that show gets canceled or if that show gets shit, Donald Trump's a loser. Because again, free speech to say whatever the fuck you want. Look, I saw Succession. Anybody out there seen Succession? Anybody what goes on in that world? Anybody knows these billionaires? I also heard that Succession might be based on Rupert Murdoch. But at the end of the day, it's based on media outlets having control. And who is the top dog at that media control is going to control the narrative. For 4 years, all I heard about was transgender swimmers. All I heard was we have to give everybody a trophy. All I heard was, unemployment's going up, our taxes are going. That's all I heard. Now we're hearing this. It's all who controls the media. Right now, Trump being president, I'm 100% okay with that because that side has got no shot in my eyes right now. You need to do something if you want to even have a thought of competing in 3 years against the Republicans. Elon Musk wants to start a third party. Who knows? I might catch on to that third party because you know what? The middle needs somewhere to go. The middle, I mean by the people that stand by their middle values, that stand by the fact that they could disagree with the person they voted for president, but still be proud of the person that they voted for. The middle needs somewhere to go where they could voice their opinion and say, I don't like what's going on the right, and I don't like what's going on the left. The middle is strong. So Washington, White House, no matter who's in that office, what are you going to do when the middle that consists of about 100 million people shows up on your doorstep and is really pissed off? Got to do something. Because what's happening right now is absolutely embarrassing. These wars. Got to bring everybody home. Have to. We have a lot of shit to take care of here. Yeah, I feel bad for those people a little bit, but I go to work every single day in Harlem, New York. People in Harlem, New York right now who have been living there for years and years, they don't have a shot, man. No jobs. The streets are filthy. And nobody cares. It's not that nobody cares. It's we're giving everything away. You want to help people? You want to give them a shot in life? Help them. Really help them. Not tell them that they're being looked down upon. Not tell them that they don't have a shot. Not give them everything. I say, it's okay. You could just sit back. You could collect this. You could collect that. We'll give you benefits. We'll just raise all the working people's taxes. Don't be happy with that. Tell me to go to work. Tell me to work hard, but give me something to do. And that implies putting some money into our own country. That's right. I said America. And when I mean America first, I mean America first. I don't give a shit about France. I don't give a shit about Italy. I don't give a shit about Ireland. I know it's going to sound harsh. This is our country. We are all Americans, and we're under attack from our own people who feel bad for people who will let in here illegally. How does that sound? Now, I'm going to leave you guys on a definition. said this word last week. I'm going to read you the definition, and that's when my podcast is going to end. You tell me in the comments what you feel about this definition, and I'm going to see you guys next Saturday. Nationalism. Nationalism is an ideology that emphasizes loyalty, devotion, allegiance to a nation or nation state. These such obligations outweigh other individual or groups' interests. Nationalism. Racist? I don't think so.